Hey friends, it's Julia at the blog farmhouseharvest.net. Today I'm going to show you how to make real chili that's super healthy for you without chili powder. I have a ton of chilies that I've planted this year in the garden. They are still producing. It is October, the first week of October. I have got Anaheim peppers, jalapeno peppers, and then just some sweet peppers. So I'm going to go pick a bowl full of those and then let's get started. Before we go out to the garden, I am first going to grab some hamburger out of the freezer. We usually get a half a cow at least from Y1 Farms every year. And so I'm going to grab a couple things of hamburger, one for today, one for tomorrow, and then get a roast out for tomorrow. I like to do a Sunday roast, and I need to get that to start thawing out now. And I will leave that in the refrigerator overnight and start cooking that tomorrow. But let me just grab these out of the freezer really quick, and then we'll head out to the garden. I have these really big metal bowls that my mother had, and I've had them forever, and they're kind of like garden bowls now. We just take them out and use them for harvesting. They probably hold 2 or 3 gallons, but they're really good. I have got so many peppers here. They just keep producing. The jalapenos are really producing a lot, and these Anaheim peppers are really producing a lot. And then I also have sweet peppers. I planted the Anaheim peppers between the sweet peppers and the jalapenos, and so sometimes they cross-pollinate with the jalapenos and they get a little too spicy. So I'm going to pick mostly sweet peppers and then a few of these really beautiful Anaheim peppers. They're actually turning red now because it's getting cold, and they're really beautiful, so I'd really like to add some of these to the chili tonight too. Chili really is a fall food to me. You don't want to eat it in the summertime, it's just too hot outside, but when the nights really start cooling off, especially towards Halloween around here, it starts freezing. Our family really loves a hot bowl of chili. It's super filling, there's tons of protein and fiber and vegetables, and it's always a little bit spicy. No matter what I try to do, it's always a little bit spicy. So I love feeding my family chili in the fall. Especially, it's one of my favorite meals to make on Halloween because I do let my little kids go trick-or-treating, and I want to make sure that they eat something that's healthy and nutritious before they eat any candy. And so that is usually my traditional Halloween dinner, is usually going to be chili and cornbread. But it's also a great way to use up peppers if you have a ton of those still in your garden and you don't want to let them go to waste. First thing I do when I bring any vegetables in from the garden is give them a good wash in the sink. I am just going to rinse these off really good, make sure to get off any dirt really quick, and then we will chop them up. This probably seems funny to you, but I have to taste each pepper because the Anaheim peppers, they get so spicy that I can't use the ones that are too spicy. Those will have to go into some cowboy candy or get chopped up for later use. But in this chili tonight, I just need to make sure that each of these peppers isn't going to be too spicy that my little kids won't eat it. So I am tasting each one and then removing the seeds of the Anaheim peppers just to try to make this chili not too spicy for the family. And once I get them all deseeded as they needed to be deseeded, I'm going to actually chop these in the food processor because this is a lot of chilies and I want to get them chopped nice and small. as well as a couple onions that I'm going to use in this pot of chili. So I am using at least a dozen peppers and then 2 medium onions for this pot of chili, which I will use 1 pound of hamburger for. So this recipe is about 12 large peppers, seeded and chopped small, 2 medium onions, peeled and minced small. Also, I'm using the food processor for that. Just makes it a lot easier. Then I'm gonna fry up 1 pound of hamburger and put that in. I actually use 2 pint-sized jars of my homemade canned tomatoes from last year's garden in this, and then I am going to season that with about a teaspoon of salt and some pepper. I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of taco seasoning mix because I like those flavors, and I am going to let that cook down really well, and I'm only going to add in 1 small can of black beans to this chili. I am just getting this hamburger into the cast iron skillet to get it going. I really love Y1 Farms. If you have the opportunity to buy beef from a local rancher, I highly suggest you do it. The quality is just so much better than anything that you can get at the grocery store. So I got all of those peppers chopped, and I'm putting them into my Dutch oven, cast iron Dutch oven, which I'll be cooking the chili in today. And then I'm going to go ahead and reload my food processor with a couple of medium onions and get those chopped up and then down into the Dutch oven with the peppers. I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I love using cast iron skillets for a few reasons. One of them being that your food actually gets iron in it from the cast iron skillet, which is great for my family. So I really love it for that reason. And then I also love it because there is no coating on cast iron skillets like other non-stick skillets that have Teflon and other chemicals in them that actually leach into your food, where the cast iron skillets are just iron. And you keep it seasoned with whatever oil you want to. So I like to use avocado oil or coconut oil, and I don't even wash my cast iron skillet with soap. I just give it a really good scrub with hot water and then re-oil it, and it's ready to go again next time. So now I'm just stirring up all these ingredients. We've got the hamburger, we've got 1 jar of tomatoes in here so far. I will add another one. I've got all my peppers, all my onions, and it smells really good. But this is the base of my homemade chili. So usually when you buy chili, it's just mostly beans, hamburger, and then some tomato sauce that has chili powder in it. This is actually mostly chopped up peppers and onions, and so it's super healthy for you. And then it's got the tomatoes and the hamburger, a little bit of seasonings, and that's it. It's super healthy, super tasty, in my opinion, so much better than most chilies that only have beans, meat, and seasonings. My mom taught me to clean up as I go when I am cooking, and I am really grateful for that lesson because it helps me to relax and enjoy the cooking process. With a clean kitchen, it's a lot easier to enjoy cooking. But I did realize that my trash needs to get taken out, so I need to get that taken care of really quick. Our trash fills up pretty fast around here with a bunch of kids. And today I'm the lucky one taking it out. I am just going to give my cast iron skillet a little bit of oil here. I got it scrubbed up in the oven, and I am just going to make sure that I coat it with oil so it doesn't get any rust on it. And then I'll leave it on my stove for next time. I am not trying to sell you cast iron skillets, but these things are awesome. They can actually be a generational heirloom that you pass down. They last so long as you take care of it. And what that just means, keeping it clean and then reapplying oil or some fat to it to keep it seasoned well. Okay, I'm just giving you a shot of the chili here. Look how beautiful that is. Look at all the peppers, the onions, the tomatoes. It is just beautiful and healthy. And that is what I think chili should look like. So just adding one more jar of tomatoes here. And then as these cook down, they're actually going to create more liquid in the Dutch oven. And so I'm actually going to thicken that with 1 heaping tablespoon of the Jiffy corn mix, the Jiffy cornbread mix, which I actually learned from somebody else on YouTube. I can't remember her name, but anyways, it's a really great trick, and it just thickens up those extra juices just perfectly, so it's not too thick but not too thin, and makes a nice bowl of chili. I'm just going to throw together a really quick recipe for cornbread. I'm going to be using einkorn flour today just because I'm trying to make it a little bit healthier for my family. And I will also be using buttermilk. So instead of just using baking powder as a leavening agent, I'm going to use baking soda and baking powder. But I will be following the basic instructions on the Albert's corn mill box. So this cornbread is super easy. You'll see the main recipe that I'm using. I'm changing it up a little bit, obviously, but it's on the Albert's yellow cornmeal box, and they call it sweet corn muffins, but I'm just making it into a loaf of bread. But this is the recipe. It's 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, which I am switching out for einkorn flour today, 2/3 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of yellow cornmeal, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, which I'm changing out today because I'm using, instead of milk, which this recipe calls for 1 1/4 cups of milk, I'm using buttermilk because that's what I have right now. So instead of using 1 tablespoon of baking powder, I'm going to switch that up for 2 teaspoons of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 large eggs, and then finally 1/3 cup of vegetable oil and 3 tablespoons of butter that needs to be melted before you incorporate it. And then I am just putting that down into my 8x8 or 9x9 glass pan that I have already buttered. And then you pop that in the oven at 350 degrees. And this size of a pan took 35 minutes for it to cook through till a toothpick inserted in the middle comes out mostly clean. You might have 1 or 2 crumbs on it, and then it's done. It's a super moist, super sweet cornbread, and I really like eating it with chili because it balances out the spiciness of the chili really well. Okay, here is that little trick that I told you about with the Jiffy cornbread mix. Just 1 heaping tablespoon of that into your chili. Give it a really good stir, and it just thickens all those extra liquids really well so that it's nice and saucy instead of too liquidy. And it also adds a little bit of sweetness that I really like. Of course, nothing goes better on top of chili than a little grated cheddar cheese, and we'll dish up. I like to put my cornbread in the bowl with my chili and actually eat them together, so that's what I'm doing here. And this einkorn cornbread with buttermilk actually turned out really good. I think I need to play with the measurements on the leavening a little bit, but a perfect recipe if you want to try it. It's delicious. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope this gave you good ideas of how to make chili from scratch. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and we'll see you next time.